Pop in, say hi. If you've never come to one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Give me 1 second. I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was. We're going to turn that off. We're going to turn that on. And I bet you that'll be a little bit better. Yes, it is. You guys, I hope everybody had an amazing week today. Today, the whole week. I hope you had an amazing week all week. For myself, it was a really good week. When I'm able to make a little bit of movement for myself, when I feel like understandings, right, are kind of settling in a way that it makes me confident, right? Confident in my own understandings, confident in my own truths 100%. Hello, Owen. Hello, Andrew. I was just asking how your guys' week has been going, right? And I was saying I was having a pretty good week. It was a heavy week, right? But it was very productive in the end. I got actually a lot of things set in my mindset, but I also got lots of things settled in my own personal life. I got all my Christmas presents wrapped. I got my Christmas cards are sitting right here, ready to go to the post office tomorrow. It's that settling in to change, right? And if we don't ignite that change ourselves, change is going to come into our lives, and change will come in a priority, what's most important. And usually, what's most important is the hardest thing to resolve. That's a good thing. You should always try and get the heavy stuff, the hard stuff out of the way first, those things that you just don't want to do. You don't want to make that call to that bill collector. You don't want to, you know, uh, what is that? There's all kinds of things, especially for me, especially when it comes to people that I don't know. I am not open in my emotions. I am always open in my ideas, but it's in that little bit of self protectiveness that we have a little bit, that great deal of self protectiveness that we have that I have. And, I'd like to think that I'm not holding people away, not in the very least, but I'm paying attention. I'm taking care of myself to the best of my ability. And I believe that I'm treating myself well in the movement that I'm making. I'm making it, but it's not necessarily what I want to be doing, right? It's not the way that I want to think. It's not the way that I want to move. But sometimes, right, we don't have a choice. Whatever needs to be done in that moment, that's what we've got to do. And whether or not it's just a light chore, a light project, if it's on that list of to-dos, get it done. I am a big believer in baby steps, right? I don't always take the most difficult thing on that list and scratch it off before I go to the next. Sometimes that most important thing is at the very bottom of the list because it's something I would prefer not to have to do. But in baby steps, right? We can get all those little things that we need to get done to set us up in a way that when we do decide to tackle that big problem, that big conversation sometimes that we have with people that disagree with us, right? Our resolve to think their way and not yours. And that's their prerogative. That's their prerogative, right? My responsibilities are only for the way I think, I move, I feel, right? But when we rub shoulders with people, there's influence there, isn't it? Lots of times, and not rocking the boat, we'll give up on what we want in that moment, or what our plans were, or what we would like to do, because we don't want to rock the boat. We want to accommodate the people that are in our surroundings. It was one of the big reasons why, when I was urban exploring, that it was something that was for me. I was called to be off on my own, do my own thing, my adventure, right? My gift to myself. And that was because I didn't want to spend that gift to me, right? Or that movement for me, and have it rub up or rub with, right? Or blend with somebody else's needs. Because in the end, who will suffer, especially if you're highly sensitive or empathic, right? We always step by for others. I am learning to take my piece of the pie. I really am. It doesn't stop the feelings that I have when I do that, because sometimes I do feel selfish in that, right? Sometimes I do feel selfish in that. Sometimes I feel actually guilty. I feel guilty in that. I had an experience just now. I had a ceiling tile pop out of my walk-in closet there. It just popped onto the floor. At any moment, I'm expecting somebody to pop out of that 3-foot hole that's now gaping there. I don't know what brought it. Maybe it was just the heater. It wasn't sitting in there properly or something. Curious, right? But that's okay. It's all good. It was only meant to pull me off the topic, come in, see who's in here, say hi. Oh, Eugene, hello. Thank you for so much for coming in. Owen and Andrew. William's here. Hi, William. Did you pick up those Masters of the Universe toys that you said you were going to go down to pick up? Did you get those? Ah, I'm doing really great. Here in Bloomington, Indiana, it's been very overcast and dark. I'm ready for some sunshine. Do you get lots of sunshine in the summertime, Andrew? I know here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, we get a lot of sun. Today was super sunny, but it was in the minus 20 Celsius today. It was pretty cold. It was pretty cold. It's only December. Winter didn't even start till January last year. It only lasted for a couple of months before it just turned into a big, sloppy, messy mess. But right now, everything's pretty crispy cold. Pretty crispy cold. It's kind of like we've kind of moved back into the way winters were. Maybe winter will be one of our regular winters where we'll hit those minus 40s or minus 50s with the wind chill. Maybe that will happen this year. It hasn't in the past. Oh, it's definitely been 2 years, but I'm going to have to say, noticeably, 3 years, right? It's been 3 years now. So, I don't expect that it's always going to be consistently, right, in the extreme cold this winter, only because I've kind of gotten used to the global warming. And I know it's only going to get warmer and warmer over the decades, right? Right? Be happy that we're living in this moment, because this temperature of the world right now is kind of lovely, isn't it? Right? It's even in where the glaciers are pulling away now and melting and receding, They are finding so many Neolithic uh, tools, arrowheads, spears. They've even found a frozen man, but he's not from the Neolithic though. Oh, what did they call him? They got a name for him. They've done a lot of testing on him and stuff, but yeah, it would be pretty neat if they came across, right? And it's quite possible that it could happen because uh, the tools and the spears and things that they're finding, they are thousands and thousands of years old. And it's going to be exciting, right? People are looking at the glaciers receding as a bad sign, but it's nothing that man hasn't gone through before and survived. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now, would we? Right? So, being as smart as we are now, the smarty pants that we are now, I think in the next, oh my goodness, it's going to be a long time, hundreds of thousands of years, right, for the process to evolve. And I'm sure by then they're going to have a solution, right? Whether we're all huddled in one province because it's the warm place, because we were a tropical sea here at one time. And if the water levels do rise and come in, you can tell fire trucks are coming. I just heard the horn. Or maybe they won't. I don't know. I never heard them honk like that before. So maybe it's just a big truck that's coming down our street here. The big trucks aren't supposed to come down our street. It's not a throughway like a highway. So they got signs posted, but I do see these big trucks come down the road. These big trucks, but I don't know. I've never seen any of them ever get pulled over for coming down the roads, but it's possible. Fire engine didn't set off the alarm, so I'm assuming that everything in the moment is okay. Mind you, I did send some good cheer out to the fire trucks 3 times today. That's a lot because it's still early in the evening, and I suspect there'll be 2 or 3 more times before the day is done that we'll see them go by or we'll hear them go by. They'll be out on the road, and right, what did I say? Right? And I hope I'm not jinxing it and just trying to make my point, because I'm not trying to make a point. I don't want the trucks to set off their alarms just because, right? I'm calling them forward. I'm not, right? Get to your destination, be a false alarm, turn around, go back to the station. And I don't know what they would do, maybe card games or something like that they do in the wintertime. I'm sure they occupy themselves with hockey night in Canada, Grey Cup, and I guess the Grey Cup's over now. I'm not a big sports fan out there. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys like sports? I've never asked that question before. If any of you are sports minded in any way, I don't normally hear you guys come in and talk about this team or that team. But then again, it could be the company that you're keeping on Sunday night, because Cindy is not particularly fond of team sports. I don't have anything against them. It's just I have my own interests, right? I have things that I love to do on my own, and I don't normally pop into subjects unless I feel like I'm being called to do that, right? If it gets my curiosity, right? Catches my attention, then maybe I will. Even today, something that came across my path, did I write it down? Probably not. But, I thought, well, what is this? I don't understand this. And I went and Googled it. I don't know if I can find it in my history because now I am curious as to what I was Googling. It was a question. Oh, let's just see here. History. Uh, no, I can't find it. Sometimes I just click right into the next piece of content. So it's pages and pages and pages behind today. I was trying to keep the content light for myself today, but it just seems that, I enjoy delving deep. I really love being a little bit of a sleuth in what I do. And if I don't have a solution to a question or a curiosity or a problem, whether that problem is mine or somebody else, I have no problem Googling it and searching it out and finding out a little bit more about it. Sometimes it's just things that come across my path, and I think, oh, that's odd, right? I was just thinking about that a moment ago, and here it is, right? Being suggested to me on a different platform, even, right? Okay, I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to X this all out so it doesn't distract me during our live. And I'm just going to come in and see how your guys' week has been going. But yeah, you're ready for some sun? Uh, sun is not something that I really worry about. The cold sometimes, the wind, and if it's wintertime, rain, oh my goodness, how uncomfortable would that be? I'm from Vancouver, and I tell people here in Winnipeg all the time that Vancouver is just as cold, and you might even feel that it's even colder than Winnipeg. I'm from BC. I used to wake up in the morning in December just to see if there was snow. Usually not. We were very lucky that maybe every 2 or 3 years it would snow in the morning or look like snow. It could be frost and we would still consider it snow, but it would be always gone by lunchtime, right? So snow, unless you're up in the mountains, right? It's not really something that Vancouver deals with, but the rain, you guys, and that rain could be slushy rain, right? In the wintertime. And it was one of the reasons that, the doctors told my mom that, maybe it'd be a good idea to move to a different province rather than being on the coast. It might help your arthritis. My mother had 12 different types of rheumatoid arthritis. My mother struggled her whole life. She struggled in that, right? And it makes me curious as to why she struggled in that. Arthritis is something, um, well, I always thought it was just my mother who had it, but it turns out I've got two sisters who have got arthritis. And so I'm going to say that it does run in my family. But whether you get it or not, right? I think it's how we take care of ourselves. And whether it's physically or the combination of physically and mentally and emotionally. I think it's the combination of all three because they say that stress causes 75% of all illnesses, all ailments. That's pretty heavy duty statement to put out there to the world because everybody is struggling somehow, whether it's emotionally, physically, or mentally. We all have issues. We don't always, or very rarely, unless we don't have any control over ourselves, like alcoholics or drug addicts, right? Sometimes borderlines. They can't control their emotions. My mother was a borderline, and she could just not control herself in any fashion. She let her emotions run her moments for sure. And it's not a way that I work. I would like to say it's not a way that I work, but sometimes, in feeling guilty, right? Feeling shameful sometimes when you didn't get outside, because I didn't go outside today. I was going to go for a walk and get a cup of coffee and spend some time outside, but today was just not the day for that. Today was a day that I was going to treat myself well, that I was going to relax because I went to the grind yesterday. I got all my Christmas presents done, all the Christmas cards are done. I was listing and selling stuff and doing laundry. And it's just not a matter of keeping busy for the sake of keeping busy. These are things that need to get done. And yes, it's just the beginning of December, but you can imagine if I had just, right? I'm that type of person. I don't like wrapping presents. It's one of my least favorite things to do. I think it's boring, monotonous, and it's not where I show my creativity. Well, being a creative person, that, I get the job done and I can't even say, well, put some extra wrapping on it or put some bows on it. Show them that you love. All I'm thinking about is, let's get this job done. Let's get this job done. And I got all the presents all wrapped up yesterday. It took me it took me all day to get it done. But when I got it done and got that off my plate, I feel amazing. I know exactly where I stand in this moment when it comes to Christmas presents. And basically, right, we got a new nephew in law coming into the family. So I need one more present to attach to his, right? Because I just got him a little present. So I want to get him maybe. I don't even buy lottery tickets for other people. So I'll have to find some package of razors or something and I'll put it in his I'll tape it to his present for him. Last year he came into the family, but he came into the family at Christmas and we weren't prepared for that. And the poor guy came over. Everybody was tearing through presents and stuff and he didn't even get one. I felt terrible. And I said, next year it'll be a different story. You're part of the family now. He's actually the father of my great niece who's due any day now. And I've got a present for her taken care of already. But sometimes it's in that paying attention to what you've got to get done. Maybe not in this moment, but in the near future, meaning in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And the idea is to get that off the list, to get that off your plate, right? I feel so good in this moment that Christmas is done. I've got my postal to do, and I've got maybe a little bit of baking to do. I can't let my sister Tracy do it all. She's recovering. She's gone back to her normal self. I have not seen her. I try to make arrangements to get together and hang out with her a little bit and yeah, it just doesn't seem to work that way. But she's getting out and about and she's getting things done and she's moving along and she's doing absolutely amazing for her. And I'm so happy for her. She gets to create something amazing with her retirement. She's not going to go back to work, right? She hopes that she'll get better enough that she can go back to work. But like I said, 75% of those stress levels are what causes our illnesses. And that's what, well, it was genetic. She had the same problems as what my dad had, that congenital heart disease, right? So we're not going to blame it on stress, but that stress compounded the problems that she was having. And she's had a triple bypass, heart bypass, and she's got at least 15 years to create something amazing for her in her retirement, right? In her retirement, because she's got to stay in retirement in order to keep her health going, right? Her diabetes causes her problems. Like I said, my family's all got a little bit of something going on. I am grateful for my good health, right? But it does run in my family, right? These illnesses do run in my family. Epigenetically, these things are passed down, and people say, Cindy, where do you get your energy from? How come you can keep going? I had this conversation with my sister Tracy yesterday, a couple of days ago, right? And we were talking about going for walks and whether she's ready to go for a swim with me and stuff, right? And I was kind of saying I haven't been as active as I normally am. And she goes, "Oh, Cindy, you don't have to worry. You're more active than any of us kids, right?" And that's true, but that's because of my good health, right? And I believe my good health continues because I am always active. I'm always doing something. And right, I'm the one in this moment who doesn't have a job, right? But yet I am more active than anybody else in my family. I'm just trying to think, just to make sure I'm telling a truthful statement. No, my sister Alice is always busy. She's always going 100 miles an hour. And I'd probably say we're probably equal in that. The only difference between her and me is my connection to the outdoors, the mother nature, that I'm outside. I go for walks. I do the forest. I do the trails, right? I do the parks. But she's a little bit more of a socialite, and she does, right, she visits the kids and the sisters and does shopping, and she's still working. She's a waitress, but I sure would love to see my sister Alice get off her feet. She struggles quite a bit with her legs, right? And I guess Andrew could sympathize with that, but my sister, right, she shouldn't be working the job she has, but sometimes we get our dopamine hits from money, right? And she loves money. My sister Ella, she's in for the big old money grab. And it's a trait that I admire in her. I wish that I had that gumption just to be after the money, right? Because I do have the energy, but I don't have the curiosity, and I don't have that hunger, right? I don't have that need to be rich, right? But I sure would like to not have to worry about my bills, not to put myself in that 75% where I'm going to be stressing out and struggling, right? In my good health, that lots of people, right? We don't want to be millionaires and gazillionaires. We just don't want to worry about the basics. We want to know that, if Andrew's legs are hurting, that he can go and get a pair of compression socks, or he can go see a doctor and not worry about how much it's going to cost, right? Or for myself, in keeping a roof over my head and keeping my couple of house bills paid and on top of, so that I don't worry about that stuff, so that I can pay attention to other things. Even like my Christmas presents, right? They're all wrapped, they're done. Right? I can relax into the Christmas season now. Not like I'm a super social person, but maybe I will be. Maybe I'll spend that time. I'm just opening up my window to get a little bit of fresh air here. Maybe I'll spend that time and actually go for some nice long walks. Or maybe I'll take that time and delve into important and very informational subjects, right? There's all kinds of interesting things going on in the world. And even though I am not big on the news, right? If something really terrible was going on in the world, right, I would trust that it would somehow come across my path and I would be able to um, sympathize and empathize, because just like I do with the fire trucks when they go by, right? You send out some good cheer, and you never know how that's going to hit, right? Maybe it doesn't hit at all, but maybe it's in that consideration that somebody else takes notice in what we're putting out there, and it's them that has the ability to resolve that problem or that issue or that emergency that's going on, right? Each one of us has to do our little bit in our little drummer boy and little drummer girl ways at times, right? Not all of us are meant to rule the world, to impact the world, right? I'm happy if I just impact and move myself, right? Right? That I make a little bit of movement in a way that I can resolve some of these ways that, right, I think about life, think about the future, think about the past, while I'm staying solid in the present, right? And I do that, right? I'm just looking at that big gaping hole in my bedroom ceiling there, right? These things happen. Sometimes they mean something, sometimes they don't. Okay, you guys, let's come into the comments for a moment, and we're just gonna stay there until we can move into something else. Oops, I went too fast. Oh, Kathy's here too. Hi, Kathy. Everything's going good, William. Thank you. Trying to get your play. I'm assuming you are pretty organized. For myself, I have little piles here and there, but anything that I own, if you said, Cindy, can I borrow da 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 da, I would know exactly where it is. What agitates me is when I go to get what I need, whether it's the screwdriver or a hairbrush. Oh my goodness, there were a couple of things this week, and I went, oh my goodness, Cindy, oh my phone, oh my goodness. I went the whole day not even recognizing that I didn't have my phone with me. It sat beside my bed. And then I went into a little bit of a panic mode because I ran to the store for something. And then I thought, oh my goodness, where's my phone? It's not in my purse. It's not on my desk. And I just kind of scurried around my house and everything. And I was convinced that I had maybe left it on the store counter or something. Oh my goodness. And I don't know what drew my attention, just walking into the bedroom just to check. And there it was. And I went, are you kidding me? My phone sat here all day and I didn't even notice that I didn't have my phone with me. That was odd. But more odd than that, there wasn't even one notification except the notification of what the temperature was on my phone at that moment. So it had gone like 12 hours sitting at the side of my bed, and nobody tried to go get a hold of me. No comments, no messages, no emails, no notifications, no bill collectors, no news is good news, right? But I found it really curious that that happened, right? I'm not super compulsed on my phone. I know it's at the age of AI learning and digital age, and everybody is on their phone. But with me, I'm all about the computers, right? And the phone itself, even though I am a bit of a scroller, right? I can scroll on subjects. Oh, I got a message right here. Sorry, you guys, if I can just see what this one is about. Um, there you go. I just answered. It's just sorry. It was something that something that I was selling. I hope I answered the right question in that. She lived out of town too, so I wasn't too sure that I if I said yes that she'd come in and I'll have what she needs. But, right, it's what's keeping the roof over my head. I'm having a lot of fun being a reseller. I don't know if anybody out there has ever considered something like that. I don't know if you like thrifting, right? Or if you like garage sailing. Um, but I've been having quite a bit of good luck. Not like turning me into a gazillionaire or anything like that, but I've been managing to put groceries in the cupboard, food in my fridge, managed to pay a couple of house bills this month. So I was really pleased in that. And, it kind of gives me that confidence that maybe, you know, I don't have to go back to work for another year, right? I'm retiring this year, you guys. So this is why I'm contemplating whether or not to go back to work. The problem is, right, is I only have a year till the pension kicks in. I have one pension, but the big pension kicks in. But also in that the pension's coming in, I'm not a money grabber. Like that idea of having that extra money, right? Going for the grab, right? There are things that I need. I would love to, right? Save for a vehicle. And it's something in the past few days, when I'm contemplating, am I going back to work? Right. And I'm thinking it out. But it's what comes across my path. And if that opportunity or conversation, or if I bump into somebody, or that catastrophe happens in my life that puts me in a situation where I'm not going to be able to pay the bills or the roof over my head, there's no question that I would go back to work. But I do this every week. And then soon as I think, okay, maybe I will go back to something comes across my path, whether I sell something, right? Or I come into a lesson that's actually talking about toxic management, which has been a topic this week. And it's funny because it's not something that's ever come across my path, toxic management. But wow, am I ever learning a lot by that? I don't know. Sometimes things what I think that I really should have known years or decades ago, and then I'm just stepping into it in the moment. It makes me curious as to why it's never come across my path before. Because the topic of toxic management is something that I could have used last year. Really, I really, 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 really could have used that information last year when I was making some big decisions. And not only making some big decisions, I had questions, right? I had questions, but it never even crossed my mind to delve into the other aspect, right? The 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 relation outside of me, the other person, right? So it's really interesting, again, these things that I'm delving into, and it not working makes it possible so that I can just get smarter and smarter in what I love to learn, what I'm so appreciative in understanding, because those lessons this week on toxic management, they lifted so much guilt and shame off of me. It was incredible. I felt so bad in what I was doing, in that company that I really so appreciated in giving me a shot. And I tried to resolve in those relationships, but there was information that I didn't have, right? I didn't recognize. I recognized what was rubbing me wrong, right? But I didn't truly recognize how I was rubbing others wrong. And I have to take that that information, and I have to chew on that. I have to contemplate it, roll it around and digest it and stuff, because it answers a lot of questions as to why I did have to go, why it would have never been anybody else except for me. It's in my own choices. And if I had had some of that information that I had been delving into this week, oh my goodness, it would have been so easy. But I think the idea was for me to learn it on my own, right? For me to discover it on my own. And I did. It served me. I don't know if it served me any better. I could have been out of that picture a little bit earlier, but sometimes, right, things work out the way they do because they're serving you, right? Because if I hadn't held on as long as I did, there is no way I would have been able to manage that trip that I went on this past September, right? And actually, that trip that I took in September, for the most part, was paid for by reselling, right? And it's something I enjoy doing, and I'm grateful that I have a sister who enjoys it, that we get to team up and partner and have a little fun. We went thrifting uh, this week. I went up to the store that I used to work for, and reminisce a little bit and see everybody and say hi to everybody. And I was actually looking for things that I could score, that I could resell. I didn't find anything, and I scoured that place pretty good. It wasn't in great shape, but I'm not here, and that's not something for me to feel bad in any way. And if the lessons that I got this week, right, was to do any service, right, it did 100%. It just lifted so much of those bad feelings that I had about myself, because I felt I was letting everybody down, that I was letting everybody down. But I have to remember that wasn't my guilt. That wasn't my shame. That was somebody else's shame, not taking into consideration the the taken into consideration, looking out for the best, right? For everybody. They took themselves into consideration. And because probably, right, as much as they bothered me, I probably bothered them even more. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bothered me the way that they did. So, in that consideration, I understand, right? I understand that in the end, right, nobody was going except for me. I was either going to put up with it, right? Or I was going to bring myself down, right? Like totally put myself down to the point where I can't even use my intelligence without rubbing somebody badly, right? That make myself smaller so that somebody else can feel bigger. Now, sometimes that's a good thing, right? Sometimes you give that respect to people just out of the consideration, but it's in the expectation, isn't it? And in the realization of how we make others feel, right? So there were lessons in that for me. There were lessons in that for me too, right? I always say that I always judge people how they treat me, not how they treat other people. So I have to give that same consideration to other people when they feel, right, negative or badly towards me. And just remember, right? I can only control my feelings, my actions, right? My my thoughts. And I can't control how anybody else feels in that. But I would never, oh my goodness, I can't even say that because now that I know what it is, right? I recognize there were lots of people in those peer groups and those jobs that I had. Being a supervisor manager, you get a say, right? And who's to stay and who's to go. But you have to understand that, right? Everybody needs their job. Everybody has a right to put a roof over their head. And just because I don't like somebody, if they could bring the talent and the experience to the table, if they could do the job, who am I to dictate whether or not they get to stay or they get to go? Just because one person feels that insignificant, they feel demoralized or judged in that, right? It doesn't mean that I have to feel that way. And right, I'm going to just have to say it, right? Because I was that person being in management and supervisors that I got to choose who was coming on board. And if I felt that I wasn't comfortable, if they if they were the wrench that was put into the engine, that I would have no problem moving people along that way. But it was never ever with intent, because they made me personally feel uncomfortable. I'm used to working with people, right, that possibly might not think I'm the greatest person in the world, right? And I think we all work with people like that who don't think that we're the most amazing thing in the world. But it's kind of cruel and unkind to make somebody uncomfortable in that job, right? That puts the roof over their head. And if they have the talent, the skills, if they're bringing to the table what the expectation is, who are we to say, right? I don't like your attitude. You're out of here, right? I don't like you. You're out of here, right? None of us truly has that right, but it's done. It's done all the time, right? Right. It's being done to all of us all the time. Okay, I'm just coming down here. Where did I leave off? All right. Andrews or Williams. Oh, Williams putting his house together. Oh, I thought that was Andrew. Oh, and I got down here too late. I don't know what was so funny. Oh my goodness. It's nice to see you, William. I'm always happy when you pop in. You guys get slushy snow too, don't you, William? And Owen too, right? Because you guys live in this almost in the same city, I would think, right? I think so. But yeah, slushy rain, right? You guys don't get rain that stays all winter. Uh Kathy likes football. Oh my goodness, Kathy. I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought maybe you like fishing or, well, I knew you didn't like camping because you mentioned it one before that you weren't a big fan of camping. But I thought maybe you might like trails and stuff, but I would never have thought you being a sports fanatic. Is it just football or all sports that you like? You say I like sports, so I'm going to assume that it's not just football that you like. Isn't that interesting? Right? That's what I love about my life. You get to know a little bit about each other and it tags on because, lots of you, I've been hanging out with you for like 5, 10 years. And, we are slowly, really, really getting to know each other really well. But I would never have figured you to be a football fan, Kathy. Oh my goodness. Now I got to one up her. No, I don't. I'm not a big sports fan. I do watch the Winter Olympics. I like the Winter Olympics and I like figure skating. I watch figure skating, but for sports I think that's pretty much it. I'm not a big sports fan. I never have, even as a kid. Actually, as a kid, I watched hockey all the time with my dad. My dad loved hockey. It was an opportunity for me to sit on the couch with him and spend some time, hang out with my dad. He would take me all to the Lions football games. He would take me to the Whitecaps soccer game. This is from Vancouver when I was a kid, right? And uh, hockey was Vancouver. Oh my goodness, Canucks. The Canucks, yes, Vancouver Canucks. Yeah, but I spent more time at the concession stands than I did with my dad watching sports and being enthusiastic. I wasn't cheering for teams or anything. I didn't even know how the games were being played. My dad didn't have any boys. He would have loved to have a son. He would have, right? He wanted my mom to keep trying, but after 4 girls, my mom said that was it. And so he never got that partner, right? In sports. We all had boys' nicknames as kids, as girls. But yeah, when it came, my dad even took me hunting, right? I never killed anything. He never let me shoot the rifle. But, he loved my company, and I was my father's good luck charm. Like, literally, he believed that I was his good luck charm, and he would drag me everywhere if he thought that it was going to make a sticky situation better or if it was going to be a windfall. Like, I even sat in the car while he played poker or while he drove cab. And, right, it was just my company that my dad enjoyed. I was thinking about it today again, and talking about the lessons that come across our paths. I was thinking, what did my dad was woke to these ideas. We're going to send some good cheer. 5 today. Get to your destination. Be a false alarm. Knock on that door. Somebody will come to the door and they'll say, everything's good, right? He's feeling much better now. He was choking on something. He hit his back and it popped out. We're good. And they're able to get back to the station 5 times today. That's quite a bit. Usually I hear them maybe 3 times in the course of a day, but that's the 5th time already today, and it's still fairly early. Um, uh, yeah, I lost my track there. Back onto the conversation, rolling down here in the comments, you guys. But yeah, that's so interesting. I love that, Kathy. I love that. It gives me a better picture in my mind. When I'm sending you out good cheer, I can think of my friend Kathy. I said, "Oh, send her to a football game, right? Send her to a football game at the Yankee Stadium, or right, or the San Francisco 79ers." And I'm trying to think of football player teams in the States, so that you can have a little bit of a vacation too, right? Right? I hope we all, right, find ways to take little vacations, whether it's a little road trip or even just time off at work that you can spend on your own at home, relaxing without those pressures and those stresses, right, hitting us. Keep us all healthy, keep us all hanging out together when we're 80 and 90 years old, right? I actually, hold on one second. I don't know if you can see it right here. This is a little white tree. It's just bare branches, right? But I've hung a few Christmas ornaments that my sister made for me on it. And I call it my Christmas tree. So my ornaments on that tree fell behind my fireplace. So I pulled up my fireplace, and guess what I found behind my fireplace? My walking stick, you guys. Oh my goodness. It's my favorite walking stick. It's, I think, the best one I have ever done. And I made this actually for somebody else who was going blind. And I tried for years to get her to come and pick it up. She lived out of town, but not far out of town. It's not like she never comes into Winnipeg. She does. I even said, like, if your husband comes into town, you know, tell your husband to message me and I'll run down with it. Right? This is the last stick I made. I made this stick, oh my goodness, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I haven't made a walking stick since. So I'm thinking now that this is going to be my cane. I don't need it. Like I said, grateful for my good health. But there will come a time when I'm 80 or 90 years old, and I did make it to fit my hand. Like, look at the fit on that. It's just a perfect fit. It even has a spot for my thumb. And look at, you can see right through it. Can you see that? There's holes here. I could put a chain or a piece of string like that, and it could hang off of my backpack while I'm touring Scotland. Yes, if I go to Scotland, oh, do I really want to take this with me if I go to Scotland? Uh, Probably not, right? I'm going to be watching my luggage and stuff. I'll probably just pick up a stick along the way. I want to do some bothies is what they call in Scotland, where you hike, and there's these old stone houses, and turned these stone houses into little hostels, and you can actually stay there. And I thought, oh my goodness, that would just be the most magnificent, right, trip ever if I could just start walking, and then every night I could stay in a different bothy. You can't just pitch your tent wherever you want to. I'm assuming if there's too many people in a bothy, because, right, it's whoever gets there first. And usually the bothies will hold anywhere from 8 to 12 people if they have different rooms and stuff. But I think you could probably in the yard of the bothy, right, pitch a little tent or something. But the scenery, you guys, I've been watching the videos. There are people who post videos on bothies, and of course, if I go to Scotland and do the bothies, I'll be doing a series on bothies too. And I look forward to doing the research on the different bothies, right, in the different locations, and then making itinerary that I can just continue to walk, right? I won't manage to get all of Scotland done, but I'm sure I could probably get 30 miles in, couldn't I, in just walking. And it would be cost effective for me too, because I would be staying in the bothies, and I wouldn't be staying in the hotels, right? That I'll be saving money. That way I could just buy groceries and just carry it along with me as I go. And I think I would probably want to go to Scotland for probably 3 weeks if I went. I would want to go for 3 weeks because I would want to do 2 weeks on my little bothy excursion. But if I'm in Scotland, I want to do the Loch Ness because I have this dream that I want to sit on the shores of the loch and sing to Nessie. And I would too, but it sure would freak me out if he happened to pop his head out of the water, that's for sure. Oh my goodness. Okay. Um, Andrew says, I'm down the street from the fire department. Not unusual to have the trucks go by several times a day. Uh, Often a truck or trucks go by in the early morning. In late at night, they don't normally turn the fire engine noise on. They'll put the lights on, and then they'll, as they hit intersections, they'll just do a honk of the blowhorn. Um, but yeah, these fire trucks, they're going all day long, and we have lots of fire stations here in Winnipeg. We have a lot of fire stations, actually, so many that some of the fire stations have actually been turned into houses, right? Um, I'm not a sports person at all, though I love to swim. Oh, I love to swim too, Andrew. Your sports is a deck of cards. I used to love cards, you guys. Uh, I used to play crib with my mother because she liked cards, and because there wasn't too many things, right, that my mother didn't like spending time with me too much. But if she wanted to play cards, if she was in the mood to play cards, she wanted somebody who had a few brain cells. And even though she would never admit that I had a few brain cells, right? She would play cards. She would play cards with me. We liked cribbage. Actually, that was one of the gifts I got my new nephew-in-law. I bought him a crib board, a wood crib board. But I thought, oh, he needs another little present to go along with the crib board. But we'll figure that out. I've got 3 weeks. My Christmas shopping is done. All I have is a few things for my sister Tracy's stocking. We do a stocking for her every year because she does stockings for us. Like she does stockings for me and my sister Carolyn every year. And so about, oh my goodness, it must have been about 10 years ago, me and my sister Carolyn, we started the tradition of making a stocking for her. And we put all kinds of great things in her stockings because she does. Well, you guys know because I open up the stocking on Christmas Eve. Now, I was talking to her yesterday, but I forgot to mention to her not to make me the mincemeat, right? It's too much trouble for her. She's still in recovery. So she doesn't need to make the mincemeat for me this year. And I'll make sure that I'm just going to send her a message tomorrow or maybe tonight after my live show and let her know that, right, not to bother with the mincemeat. And you guys know I love my mincemeat, right? Mincemeat has been my favorite at Christmas, and I swear I get so sick on Boxing Day because of all the mincemeat tarts that I eat, right? That's the one rule in my household growing up was there was no on Christmas. Didn't matter. Whatever question, whatever you wanted, and we didn't take advantage of it. Maybe we tested the waters just out of curiosity of where the nose would stick. But there was no nose at Christmas. It was absolutely amazing, that one day I could just have at her. And you guys know it would have been because for me growing up, it was the second helpings. Oh, can I have another piece of meatloaf? No, right? Can I have another scoop of mash? No, right? So I got used to hearing the word no, that it got to the point where I never even asked anymore, right? Because the answer was always no. But on Christmas Day, there was no, except for mandarin oranges. You guys, I was not allowed to have mandarin oranges on Christmas Eve because it would ruin Christmas Day because I always got an upset stomach and it would just run through my system. I would be so sick on Christmas Day, but my mother used to say I used to look at an orange and I would poop myself. Right? And yeah, oranges have never settled in my system well. I like oranges. I'm not a super fan of oranges. My favorite fruits are, well, I like prunes, right? Canned prunes. I like canned prunes, and I like cherries and blueberries. I love berries. Berries in general. I don't think there's any berries except for Saskatoons that I don't care for. Have any of you had Saskatoons? I don't care for Saskatoons. They got like little seeds in them or something. They look like blueberries. Even the bushes look like blueberry bushes, but they just taste like, I don't know, like you're chewing on sandpaper or something. There's just lots of texture in a Saskatoon, and the pies are bland and dry and not juicy. Even the berries are not juicy. But yeah, nectarines, pineapples, peaches, pears. Pears are my favorite. I love pears. Tell me your favorite fruit, guys. I'd love to know give me a little bit more information on you guys, what your favorite fruits are. Okay, let's see. Just coming back here to see what I missed. Uh, but yeah, I love that you love to swim. Oh, and I love swimming, bike riding, walking, hiking. That's pretty that's pretty much it for exercise, right? You never see me jogging. You never see me weightlifting. Never, ever, ever. right? High impact exercise was never my thing. I love movement, right? I'm always active. And when it comes to running, though, right, just running around, getting my stuff done, just moving fast. That's about as right exercise as I get that way. But yeah, I like non-impact sports. I do bike riding, swimming, walking, hiking. Yeah, but that's pretty much. I used to love roller skating and ice skating, right? Yeah, I would have loved to have been a figure skater. I really loved ice skating, but then again, just like the swimming, by the time I hit 12 or 13 years old and I felt self-conscious when I was in a bathing suit or I felt that I was fat, that I wouldn't participate in the things that I love, even if I was good at it, right? It was the same thing. I was really, really good at basketball. I'm not tall or anything, but I had a really good eye for the shots, and I had a pretty good swing on me when it came to throwing the balls. And in my hypervigilance, right? That's probably why I always knew where everybody was, right? Every one of those teenage girls who were just waiting for me to run by them so that they could stick their legs out and trip me up, right? But yeah, I could have done something probably with basketball, but it really wasn't something that I enjoyed as much. I probably could have enjoyed it, but again, I was that kid, right? I was self conscious. And when you're self conscious and it shows, you make yourself a target, right? And that's something that I come to know. If you don't exuberate that confidence, right? Right? I'll show you, or you can't mess with me, or sticks and stones may break my bones, or ha ha ha, try it, right? That sometimes in that you can make people go, what? Oh, I'm not gonna yell at her, she's got personality. And it was kind of why I had the pink bangs, right? I've had pink bangs. Well, I've colored my hair since I was like 16 years old, but I've consistently colored my bangs in my adulthood for that exact reason. So that's something you can't tell because it needs to be redone, but they're supposed to be pink. But in that moment when somebody is thinking about saying something or doing something unkind, right? That pink hair was just kind of a signal to them to say, ooh, she's got some personality. Let me think on this for a moment before I say this or before I do this. And you guys, it worked 100%. It worked. That's why lots of times you see kids and they got those cow hooks in their nose, or they shave their head, or they cover themselves in tattoos. It's because they want us to feel a certain way about them, right? That same way, don't mess with me, or right, or think about it before you say or do something. And people, um well, it's kind of a falsehood, isn't it? It's masking who you are, uh to to give somebody a different impression, right? I did that. I'm just thinking about it now. It's neat how you reminisce about things, and then all of a sudden you step into and you go, oh, that's why I did that, or that's why they did that, or oh my goodness, that's why these things always happen to me. And I find it curious. I wish I had known about it sooner, but sometimes we don't know about it because there are lessons in the experience that we need to pick up that will make us stronger, wiser, braver, right? I believe that to be the truth. I really do. I understand because I do the baby steps because I can't just dive in and life sometimes changes us in an instant. But if I have the prerogative, if I have the option of just small adjustments and small changes, I'm going to do that because I don't like the cranks. I don't like how painful change can be sometimes, because sometimes, most of the time, if change is coming into your life, it's going to be extreme, isn't it? And if you're not ready for it, right, that could be emotionally and mentally challenging. And if you're not physically, right, prepared for that, right, you might not have the tools to resolve whatever it is that you're going to be up to challenging in, right? In that preparedness, it's always best to be prepared, and you can be prepared. You can get prepared emotionally, physically, mentally by doing things in baby steps. So I am so happy I jumped into that one. I couldn't imagine doing what I'm doing now if I had to go head first into some of these topics that I jump into, right? Because a lot of it is heartbreaking sometimes. Sometimes it is frustrating because time has gone so long, like, the that there's no point in being upset over something or disappointed or beating a dead horse over something, that there's no point because, right, it's been 50 years. Why cry about something that happened 50 years ago? Just take that information and just trust that you'll never get yourself in that situation again. The thing is, right, usually when we get ourselves in those situations, right, we try to swear never to get ourselves in those situations again, because it is in the repeat that shows that, right, that we're not getting the message. We're not catching the lesson because we end up having to do it again, right? So I would much rather see these lessons just always consistently moving and learning, right? Without being set in my place, without having that heartbreak, that grief, that frustration, or that fear, right? Because highly sensitives are notorious for not wanting to move, right? That our fear sometimes makes it so that we stick in one place, that we don't find that opportunity or that little crack, even, to better whatever situation that we find ourselves in, because fear takes hold of us. And when fear takes hold of us, we go backwards, right? Right. And if we're not going backwards, at the very least, we're standing still, not doing anything, right? Hoping not to rub anybody wrong, not to trip over anything, not to break anything, not to be noticed, right? Maybe they won't notice me. Maybe they won't know I'm here. Maybe they won't find out I was the one who said that, right? Okay, let's come down here. Um, Andrew says if he was wealthy, he would probably still live much the same way as I do now. That's beautiful, Andrew. Right? Right? That shows me that you're content, that you're okay with the experiences and the life that you have, that you've built for yourself, right? You created your life for yourself, mind you, right? I know if you were wealthy, that maybe you would slap some money into some more physiotherapy, maybe, to help resolve some of those those issues with your legs. I would like to think that maybe you would do that, Andrew. But again, sometimes if you just set your life the way that you like your life, and every once in a while, Andrew likes to go into his cupboards and his closets and clean things out and down. What do you call it? Down, right? I'm trying to figure out that word. But right, he's not particular in being fancy that way. I'm not that way either. If I was wealthy, I would probably be on the road, right? I would get myself, probably, if I was wealthy, it would probably be a very, very nice RV. But if I wasn't wealthy, but just to do, right? If I just managed to get to work and save that money for a van, I would be happy with that. But for sure, I would be I would be on the road for the rest of my, well, until at the very least I needed to go into a home, right? That I would stay on the road. I would make up for lost years, right? It's sad that I feel like I need to make up for lost years, because I feel truly that I've had lots of amazing adventures in my life, right? It's a mixed bag of good and bad, but I've had some amazing, amazing experiences. I've had some wonderful friends, right? I had a wonderful marriage for as long as that marriage lasted. My adventures in taking these trips to Ontario every year, I absolutely love it, right? I wish I could be more challenging and more responsible to myself, right? And work harder, right? So, but sometimes it's just not about working harder. Sometimes it's just making up, right? Making up time, making up experiences, making up that understanding that I mattered. And sometimes, right, it is in that hairy, scary of right, that I can't control a work environment, that I don't have a say. And I think for my days of walking into a business and climbing the ladder as fast as I can so that I don't have people breathing on my necks, so that I can dictate and not feel targeted, right? That I don't feel that need anymore, right? And it kind of goes against my grain in the little bit of movement that I've made, that I probably wouldn't want to go down that route. Right? I'm just kind of happy, right? Of course, life could be better. Right? Life could be better. But I don't want to dictate that life. I want to be dazzled and amazed by that, right? The wonder, right? Right? I love being mesmerized by life, and I'm grateful that, every day I find something to be mesmerized by, dumbfounded by, impressed by, sometimes even humbled by, right? Humbled by the lessons and the conversations and the experiences. Okay, coming down here. Uh, some people are wealthy, but don't sow it. I found out a retired teacher I'd worked with at the Red Cross was worth over $100 million. Oh my goodness. $100 million. I would have so much fun giving that away. I would have so much fun giving that away. Oh my goodness. My sister Carolyn would get a credit card. I would just say, This is your card. Whatever you need, right? You need anything for you need anything for the family, this is your card, right? Um, uh, I would pay back my sister Tracy for all her kindnesses, right? And there's a tallied number there, and I would give her that number 100%. All the people who have touched me in a way. I would love to go to that thrift store in that job that put the roof over my head that I recently left. And I would just love to hand my credit card to the cashier and just say, take care of everybody. Don't tell anybody, but take care of everybody that comes through the till for the next 2 hours. I would love to do something like that. I would love the people in my building. There's so many vulnerable in my building. Lots of seniors, people in their 80s, right? Really senior. And they're in this building because it's a low income high rise is what I live in, right? But it's also a 55 plus building. So there are lots of seniors in here on low income or assistance, one or the other. I would love, because we have a community center on the main floor, I would love to put on a big party, a big dinner with a band and presents, right? Just to, because I don't socialize lots. I'm always polite. I say hi to everybody. I'll stop and have a short conversation. But you normally, right? I don't think any tenants have been in my apartment, right? My nephew has because he lives upstairs from me, and my sisters on occasion come to visit. But other than that, I don't let people come into my apartment. I'm not going to say don't let people come into my apartment. I have to say it. I don't let people come into my apartment. This is my space, my haven, right? Even when I'm reselling, I always meet people downstairs, never bring anybody upstairs to my apartment to see anything. And I always have little things. I don't have great big things anyway that I have to haul downstairs. And normally, if I sell something, I'm selling something. I'm not normally taking things downstairs for people to look at and them say, "Oh, I don't think so," right? I I think I've sold everything when somebody says I'm on my way, right? And my prices are really, really, really good. I think I'm good as a reseller. I wish I could convince my sister to go in with me on a thrift store, right? She's worried about employees, but I don't think it would be a problem, right? To cover wages. And me and her would both have to be out there um, shopping for stock and stuff. But I would want to run the store 100%. Oh my goodness, my own store. I have always been supervisors or managers, but to have my own business, which I believe that as a highly sensitive, as an empath, it's a route I should have gone down very early in my working years, right? We have to be our own bosses because, right? Remember what I was saying about those sensitivities that we have that people can pick up on, right? That it gets taken advantage of quite often. Like I said, it's a different story for me now. I wish I had had those lessons when I first entered into the workforce, but it wasn't the case. But sometimes I have to have those experiences in order to get the lessons, right? And so I can't question why, right? I just have to accept what is, right? If I can change it, change it. If I have that answer now, if there's something in that answer that I can resolve in this moment, great. But if it's too late, it's too late. And there's going to be a lesson in that too. And sometimes that lesson is just something that you pass on to somebody else so that they don't find themselves in the same situation that you found yourself in when it was too late, that you can offer up that information or that opportunity or that item, whatever it is, to somebody else to help it so that they don't find themselves stuck like you got stuck, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. If I were wealthy, right, you'd pretty much live the same way. I wouldn't be. I would have to down myself, down, right? Myself in my clothing. That's going to be a toughie because I've got so many nice clothes now, right? That I would have to minimalize quite a bit the clothing that I would need. My furnishings would all have to go. I am listing everything. So, right, because none of this stuff that I have can be taken with me on the road, and I'm determined. I'm getting on the road. If I'm not getting on the road this year or next year, when I am officially retired, 67, I am going to be on the road, and I can't take any of this. I can't take my fireplace, my desk, right? I'll take my computer and my laptops with me. Probably not my computer, but I'll take my laptop with me, and right, figure out how to take these two picture three, right? Because I love that one just as much as I love these two. The one on the end, I'm selling that one. That one there is a beautiful picture. It's actually painted by a former president of the Winnipeg Art Society, art organizations. I don't know. President of the artists, anyway. But I've got that one up for sale right now. So, right, I get inquiries every couple of days on it. Eventually, in the next few weeks, I'm assuming that will be a blank spot there and I'll be able to put something out there. But this tree, not going anywhere. These two, not going anywhere. But where am I going to put them in an RV? Right? Right? They'll be like banging up against the side of the truck as I'm driving down the highways. But we'll work on that when that moment arrives that it's time to work on it. And in the meantime, we got to get rid of all this other stuff, all these little doodads and stuff. And whatever's left over, I'm just going to box it and I'm going to take it to Goodwill or Salvation Army, and I'm just going to donate it, or I'm going to mail it off to you guys. Right? I am not attached to anything that I have, right? There are things that I love, but if they were to disappear, they would disappear. Just like the two fans. I lost two fans within a week. Oh my goodness. And I use those fans all year round. Now I've got a little USB fan hanging over my face and it works. The past 2 nights I've been doing it. It has a little buzz whir. So that makes me feel comfortable. And it just moves the air. It doesn't blow in my face like 100 miles an hour like my other fans, but it does move the air and it still gives me that feeling of being outdoors when the air is moving a little bit. Okay, I'm coming down in the comments, you guys. Some people, okay, I did that one. Correction, rich, but don't show it. Correction, rich, but don't show it. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, people would know I was rich because I'll be fixing Carnegie libraries. I'll be donating money to different cities so they can fix their Carnegie libraries. They're still, right? They say there's over 200 still left in the States and there's about 100 still going in Canada. And they all need upkeeping and they all need repairs. And a lot of them, right? I think they said there were like 900 of them or something, and they're all gone now, right? They're all gone. The buildings are all gone now. Um, Oh, Kathy likes the Olympics too. Yeah, I love the Olympics. I don't know why I love the Olympics. I like the shooting one, the winter one where they go shooting at the targets and stuff. I like the bobsleds. I love the skiing. I love the figure skating. I love the hockey games, right? Oh, the hockey games are super exciting. And I love the podiums. I love seeing countries being proud of themselves because a lot of those countries are aggressive countries or meek countries, and they have an opportunity in good sportsmanship to shine, right? I just really love the Olympics. Yeah, right. I don't like sports, but I do like the Olympics. um One of the men of my church won a gold medal for wrestling in the 1980. Oh, really? That's interesting, Andrew. Those gold medals are worth a lot of money. I was just watching a post, I think, on Instagram where somebody found a gold Olympic, the ribbon with the medal, and it was worth a lot of money. I can't remember what it was worth, but it was like at least $10,000 because it was enough for me to go, what? Right? But yeah, it was very collectible. I don't remember what the sport was though. But yeah, they found it at a garage sale and it was worth lots of money. Um, Tons of snow here already. It's been snowing all week, Andrew. It's been really cold. Minus 20 Celsius here in Winnipeg today, maybe minus 21, I can't remember, but it got pretty cold here yesterday and today. And but that's okay. We're ready for winter. We're going into Christmas now. Good point, Kathy. I heard someone say happiness is not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. Oh, I love that. Right? Right? I love my stuff. I wanted it. I got it. Now it's got to move along. And it's all stuff that somebody's going to want, right? And like I said, I'm not leaving tomorrow. So I don't want to sit here in an empty apartment. But at the same time, I'd much rather get what I'm asking for than give it away or have a garage sale and give it away for pennies. I mean, I made a lot of money at the garage sale, me and my sister, right? Had like it was mostly all my stuff. We did like $1,000 almost on the first day. So it's not like uh I didn't have a lot of stuff, but the stuff that I had, like I did have a lot of stuff. I had 2 truckloads, but I didn't get as much money for things than what I thought they would go for, even though, right, I didn't pay much for anything, right? I didn't pay much for any of it. Okay. Um, Happiness is not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. I love that. Um, Andrew says, I agree, Cindy. There's so much need around me. I would love to help people with housing and to pay medical bills or get someone a new car. I like that term, the gift of giving. Yeah, I like it too. You don't give where you don't give for yourself. But if you have everything that you need, if you're happy in your life, if you're not wanted anything else, and you got lots of money, right? Doing kind things for your family, Andrew, your brother, right? Or I'm sure your brother doesn't have a lot of needs. I'm sure the home that he's living in is taking care of a lot of those needs. But, for you to go and visit him, would it be nice to be able to pop into a cab whenever you wanted to, right? And not worry about the cost of a cab, right? I haven't taken a cab in years, like in years. And in fact, I haven't been to a nice restaurant in years. I say nice restaurant besides takeout. The closest I've got is to like Smitty's. I don't know if you guys have Smitty's in the States. It's kind of like a Perkins, right? Um, but yeah, sometimes we go to Smitty's Pancake House, and that's about as fancy dancy as it gets for me. You know, uh, that kind of comes from the gambling, right? Kind of, even in that gambling habit, I learned things in that what was important. I found that not going to restaurants, and I didn't go to restaurants because that would have been money. That would have been a $20 bill or a $50 bill if I was with somebody else that I could put into a gambling machine. So I never went to restaurants. And then I haven't gambled in 6 years. I still don't go to restaurants, right? I I like restaurants. I would love to be served a really nice meal. But for me, in the life that I have right now, right, making dinner myself is perfectly reasonable. And yeah, I kind of expect that, right? I'm not out to live the high and mighty life. Every once in a while to go out and treat yourself something nice. I got a little bit spoiled in that job that I had, that whenever I saw something and I wanted it, and that's on me too, because that's in my own compulsion of not having enough, that you end up becoming needy and wanty of everything. And yeah, so there were lessons in that too. I would never ever let myself get this eclectic ever again. I have always been eclectic. I have always had homes that have been stylized, but a lot, right? About a lot. And sometimes when we don't feel good about ourselves, when we feel like we have a very um unabundant life, that we feel that we are in a deficit, that we kind of, right, this cost me pennies, but it doesn't look like pennies. It looks like it's very costly, right? And hopefully it does, because I'm going to sell it all and hopefully I get a nice little bit of money for it all. But out of my own pocket, it didn't cost me much, right? If I wanted to put these two pictures up, the two of them are worth $1,500 for the pair. I would probably put it up for $800 just so that I could move them. And I know they would move pretty fast because these don't come up very often anymore. Just the copyright in these, because he's one of those really big painters in the world, right? Bärstadt. He was a German who traveled with Lewis and Clark when they were doing their exploring. So these are scenes that he came across in his travels and that. And not only that, he was an entrepreneur. And artists are not known to be well to do. And he did very, very well. In his lifetime, he did very, very well in his paintings. And he was targeted because of that by other artists. Because again, that idea of being the starving artist. And when you think starving artist, what are you going to be? A starving artist, right? What you think about, you realize, right? A little bit of advice for any starving artists out there, right? Abundant. I'm going to hit it big. I'm going to get $1,000,000 for my painting, right? And in that positive attitude, what you think about is realized. Okay, you guys, we got to close her down now. Night, William. Good policy, Cindy. Someone said to me, never own anything, the loss of which would be devastating. True, right? Never own anything, the loss of which would be devastating. Oh my goodness. I think I have a couple of items, right? That would be absolutely devastating to me if I lost them. I think number one, I would be devastated if I lost my dragon stone, right? Right? It's not even going to be buried with me. It's going to be passed down for thousands of years, right? And 1,000 years from now, it's even starting to get shiny now, right? Because I hand palm it all the time. I've also cut myself a couple of times on this because there's crystals all along the sides, and I don't polish because I want the crystals always to be there. It's just the flat sides that I'm trying to polish, but it's going to take my whole lifetime to get that done. But I do have things that I think would be devastating if I lost them, right? But I think we all do, right? I think we all do. I'm not super attached, right? For the most part, it can go, but I would still be hurt if some of my favorite outfits were burnt up in a fire, or the building collapsed and my dragon stone is buried under the rubble. But I think in that moment it wouldn't be important. What would be important would be, is everybody okay, right? Did everybody manage to get out of the fire? Did everybody manage to get out of the building? Because in those points, in those moments, I would just be happy that everybody was safe. And I would say, who cares about the stone? I do. But, right, in those circumstances, how do you compare, right, a stone, a crystal? It's a piece of amethyst, big looking piece of amethyst. Um, right? How do you compare a life to a stone? You just can't. Okay, you guys, that's it for tonight. Oh my goodness. I yapped away there. And so did you guys. And so did you guys. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and hanging out with me like you guys do every night. We've been at it for 1 hour, 47 minutes. So I think we should call it a night until next Sunday. If you guys want to pop in during the week and hang out with me, right? Find out what other new little bit of movement Cindy makes. Oh my goodness, it has been a week. It has been a week for me. It was supposed to be a week of change. I was supposed to be getting on to Instagram, and oh my goodness, I got thrown on a loop for that one. But maybe we'll try again next week. Everybody, have a great night, and we'll see you.